What's up guys, it's Pio here, and today we're talking about how you can improve your timings in Counter-Strike and get caught off guard less. While some may think that timing is reliant on luck, I'll discuss the factors that are in your control that improve timing. Starting with rotations. Many players get caught off guard during rotations because they give away too many sound cues. If you run while rotating from one spot to another, the enemies can easily use your footsteps to catch lurk timings on you. So you have to be more discreet with your movement and sound cues. Unless you know for sure that there are no enemies close by, try to shift walk from a position until you're at a far enough distance to start running. Another thing you can do is mask your rotation with utility. For example, you're in A site and you want to rotate to con or jungle in the mid round. You can safely smoke a main to mask your movement. Briefly hold for any aggression, then cross more safely. If the enemy lurker is a main, he has to respect this smoke and he's denied information. Aside from those rotation mistakes, countless players also get caught off guard while simply holding angles. Let's try fixing the possible errors here. A prime example would be when a teammate takes contact or dies on the other side of the map. Some players overreact. They panically move, stare at the radar, or focus away from the angle. These actions leave them vulnerable, especially if an enemy lurker knows how to abuse this timing window. Sometimes you cannot avoid but look at the radar or reposition when something happens. But when doing this, you must also be on the lookout for any possible peeks if you are playing in a common spot. If you want to glance at the radar for a bit, ensure that you do it from a safe position and not while actively holding the angle. Another common error among players is their tendency to lose focus when holding angles for too long. If they stay put for extended periods, some players tend to fall asleep or tense up, so they fail to react sharply when they eventually get peeked at. Some small tips to stay focused would be to make small movements, be it jiggling back and forth, or resetting your crosshair. Other holding mistakes to look out for are quick switching and spamming tab. Quick switching helps keep your hand active, but you also risk giving a timing window where you cannot shoot back. As for spamming tab, some do this to expand radar, but this can easily be fixed by having a smaller radar skill. Moving on to clutch situations. If you are in the open with no information on the enemies, avoid pulling your grenades out because you risk getting peeked at any moment. Some exceptions do exist, such as throwing a smoke or molotov for the bomb. But for the most part, pulling grenades in the open is just a free kill waiting to happen. The same goes if you are in a good position and the enemy does not know where you are. Using your piece of util can be faulty because you give yourself away and lose your good timing. In many instances, clutches can be won by gunning out and taking the duel. You don't have to overcomplicate by tossing some sick pop flash if you know you have the better position. In other instances, you can straight up just die from spots that you thought were safely held by your teammates. It gets frustrating when it happens, but instead of resorting to the blame game, let's discuss possible workarounds. There are multiple ways to mitigate this kind of risk. The simplest one is to rely less on your teammates to watch your blindside. Avoid overstaying in spots where you require another pair of eyes to watch an angle you are open to. This may sound selfish, but in pugs especially, you can't really predict your random teammates, so sometimes you have to rely on yourself more and expect less from others. The second way to minimize this is to improve your spatial awareness in-game. You don't necessarily have to stare at the radar to realize where your teammates are, but a short glance can tell you what your teammates are doing around you. You need to quickly visualize where your teammates are and position accordingly. But in pugs, don't expect them to have you all the time, so as much as possible, avoid being exposed to multiple angles for too long. The third solution, which requires the most effort, is to communicate more. Your chance of surviving increases if you simply tell your teammate what you're doing and what you want them to do. Say something like, "Hey, I'm taking connector control, can you hold B short push for me?" Likewise, you can help your teammates survive more if you communicate what they are open to, or even better, watch their blindside whenever possible. One principle that I've discussed in a previous video is the concept of minding the gaps during rotations. If I'm on stairs watching Palace, but I want to shift my attention to connector, I have to tell my A player that I don't have vision of Palace anymore, which means that he needs to be aware of this gap and play accordingly. So that wraps up today's video on improving your timings and Counter-Strike. This concept may seem too niche, but I still think it is worth going over because there are not many videos that talk about the aspect of timing and how you can control it to your favor. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed and learned from the video. I'll definitely start posting more soon, but in the meantime, if you want to check out some more guides or analysis videos, feel free to watch them here. So that's all. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm a head out.